All right, kids. Well, this accelerated quickly. I might have went a little further than I needed to, but I started pulling this apart and I couldn't remember a few things. So, as I said in the previous video, it felt like this coupling was spinning off on something. And if you remember, the jet ski worked fine until I went to go on plane, and then it just spun out. Everything evacuated itself. It felt like the jet just had nothing in it. So I remember this had fallen out when I was testing for a compression because the jet pump wasn't in then. And I looked at this thing, I said, wow, that divot's in there, and it's obviously making room for something. So I put it back in this way in case what I was making for was a nut right here. I've never taken this part off, and I couldn't remember if there was an actual nut here or not. So if I'm missing something in this, y'all feel free to tell me. But long story short, I said, well, I just pulled the motor out. It's like all of 19 connections, so I'll pull the motor out. So I pulled the motor out, and obviously this is threaded on. I don't know if you can see that. It's threaded on there, and it's directly threaded on here. Let's zoom in. It's directly threaded on there. And that was another thing. There was a torque spec for it, so I'm like, well, maybe there's something else there. So I pulled the jet pump off. Some people might not have ever seen this before, so I'll show you because I had it. So the drive shaft just comes through and then goes into the jet pump here, that threaded spot. So everything would spin, no problem. Everything's free. You can obviously tell it hit something at some point in its life. But I couldn't tell, or I don't know, and I think that I know now that props on an outboard, they have a sacrificial material in between the hub and the actual prop itself. That way, if you hit something, this will break and it won't break your outdrive or the gearing or anything along those lines. I'm assuming that's what's happening here, is that this has a similar piece to it. The bearings feel fine. I don't know anything about clearances here. It's probably a little too tight a clearance, but that wouldn't give me the issue I have now. So I'm assuming this prop is what we would call spun. I'm assuming that's what they mean when on these impellers as well. So everything else looks fine, which I guess means that the only reason I pulled this out was to clean up the unit. So it might have been this way last time because I did ride it once before it was overheating. I probably got it, I don't know, a quarter mile, but it was acting funny at the top end. And I just assumed that was motor performance, not prop performance. It could have been that as well. But I think this thing's just spun. We added enough horsepower to it now. It really actually meant it and spun it out. So I'm gonna order a new prop impeller. If any of you have done this and you know I'm dead wrong, please let me know in the comments somewhere. Give me some advice. Everything else seems to rev up fine. As I said previously, our compressions are like 172 and 185. Everything seems to be okay. God knows I could tune the carburetor some more or something, but realistically, that's the only thing that seems to be going off. So with that said, I will get this fixed and see what the heck happens. But anything you can let me know or you can think of would help me out a lot. Thank you.